So we're going to take kind of a pause on solving quadratics and do a couple of days working with square roots because I got to looking at it and there's some things that you kind of need to be able to do before we move forward with solving the quadratics and getting into the quadratic formula. So we're going to divide, multiply, and rationalize. And we'll get into that last one on Friday when you guys are back in person. But so basically, we're going to multiply and divide some square roots. It's not super hard, but the thing that you need to keep in mind is that these are still square roots. So at the end of the day, at the end of the problem, we want our answer to be as simplified as possible. So like we do all this work, we multiply, we divide, do whatever, and like let's say our answer winds up getting down to square root of 18. That's not the right answer because that can simplify. Okay, so we'll kind of cover all that once we get into it, but here we go. So quotient. Quotient is basically a fancy way to say divide. So we're going to have some division inside of our square roots. Now, these can kind of be done one of two ways. And it really doesn't matter how you do them because the answer is the same regardless of how you get it at the end. But separately, we're going to take the square root of the numerator and the square root of the denominator. Now, these I kind of handpicked today because I'm trying to illustrate a point, and then the last day of this, when we're back together on Friday, is going to kind of be the real point. Anyway, so you probably know these square roots pretty easily off the top of your head. Square root of 144, whoa, square root of 144 is 12, and then the square root of 9 is 3. Now, once we've done that, we've kind of taken care of the square root part. I want you to make sure that your fraction is as simple as you can make it. This one you can simplify even further and make it just 4. So what I was saying, there's more than one way to do these. This is kind of the primary. This will work every single time. Do the square root of the top, square root of the bottom, and then kind of check your answer to see if it'll go down even further. But if you happen to notice way back at the very beginning of this, 144 is divisible by 9. 144 is divisible by 9, and when you divide 144 by 9, you get 16, which is still under a square root. Now, square root of 16 is positive negative 4. Okay, so you ultimately get the same answer when you do this. Just you may not notice that you can divide at first. Okay, so and the ones that I picked for today, if you split them up and do the top and bottom separately, they're all going to kind of work out that way. The reason why I would encourage you to do that is because, like on this next one, if you simplified your fraction and then tried to take the square root, those numbers may not necessarily, you can't take the square root of, say, 8 in the denominator. Okay, so I'm going to split this guy up, root 6, root 16, and then square root separately. I can't do anything with the square root of 6, so it's going to stay square root of 6, and then the square root of 16 is just 4, and you're done. You cannot simplify that any further because that 6 is under the root and the 4 is not. Okay, to work with numbers kind of reducing a fraction, they have to both be under the root or both not be under the root. So one of each, you're done, even though those have some common divisors, because the root is kind of locking that 6 into place. You can't really mess with it. So I'm going to try and do this one a little bit quicker in my head here. So I got positive and negative root 7 over 5. And this last one is positive and negative 1/3. Okay, that's it. You're going to get a variety of different looking answers. You might get some whole numbers. You might get some fractions. You might get some fractions that contain roots. And I want to show you guys just a couple that have some algebra incorporated in it. It doesn't really change anything. So square root of x squared on top and square root of 9 on bottom. So the square root of x squared is going to get you positive negative x, and then the square root of 9 is just 3. Okay, it's kind of what we were doing when we were solving quadratics by just taking roots. The only difference is, like on this next one and then the last one down here, when you go to take that square root, the square root of 2x squared and the square root of 16, that 2 in the numerator, your coefficient that you're taking the square root of, you can't really do anything with. But when I take the square root of x squared, that can come outside of my root. So I've got positive negative x. and then my root 2 is going to stay, right? I can't pull that 2 out of the root because it's not a perfect square. And then my denominator is 4. Okay, so this guy is going to be positive negative 2y over 8. And then I can take that a step further because of the 2 and the 8 and make that positive negative y over 4. If you want to put a coefficient in front of that y, you can. It's just going to be a 1. All right, so last one here, positive negative x root 7 over 3. Okay, honestly, for what we're going to be doing, this won't pop up that much with all the variables and stuff. I just thought you guys should see that one. Oh, poo.